everybody. How's it going? We have a little bit of a shorter podcast today. What with all of the craziness going on in our schedules, so figured we'd just throw one up quick here about, what we've been up to and, save the juicy stuff for later. It's kind of thinking maybe we would have a especially long podcast next time because I want to get everybody that we've had in the past come on all at once and to hit one topic that I know for all of us will lead to a long podcast, and that's simple: Game of the Year.
Did you see what was being nominated?
I've heard Destiny was nominated, but I haven't seen any official lists.
I'd actually saw it. I'd actually saw the list, and I was actually surprised because Destiny was not on there.
That's surprising, considering it did, for being the start of a franchise of Destiny, it was like ranked number 1 of all time or something, so for it not to be on the list is kind of shocking.
Actually, I think you'd be quite surprised what's all on there for nominees so far.
Well, maybe we'll save that
right now, because it's only like 5 games, but I mean seriously, it's Bayonetta 2, Dark Souls 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, Hearthstone, and Shadow of Mordor.
Wow. I'll be honest, of that list, I mean, I haven't played Dragon Age yet, but that game looks pretty cool. If I had to guess, though, I mean, I would have to go with the Lord of the Rings, the Shadows of Mordor. I mean, that game to me looks like the most fun.
But none of them really stand out as, like, Game of the Year to me.
Well, no, and that's just it. As much as we've talked on here about Destiny being kind of a letdown, I thought for sure that would still get Game of the Year.
Right.
That is kind of surprising. But, so, since our last podcast, I know you and I have both picked up new games and, we've been pretty active playing these games. Me personally, I went and I got the new WWE 2K15. To which, okay.
You're having to take a drink before going into that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I have seen a lot of negative stuff on this game. Some of it has been from people whom have never played the game. So, let me just throw out all the stuff that I've seen, all the negative stuff. First and foremost, I've been playing this game a lot. I have really gotten into it. The first night I played it, the night that I started playing it, yes, it was different at first, and yeah, there was a little bit of learning curve on how to play it, and so it wasn't super enjoyable that first night. However, once I figured it out, I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. No, and now it's easy. But, okay, the one thing that people complain about the most is the mini game, as they call it even in the game, is the mini game. It's essentially paper, rock, scissors. But the thing about it is this. People say, like, we have our friend Joe had said that he feels like it's a break in the action. And I have to humbly disagree with that. Playing the game and being an avid fan of wrestling, you see a match, and you know how sometimes they'll lock up and they're kind of going back and forth, like with reversals? That's what they do in this. That's what it is. It happens so quick, that, I mean, yeah, you have to kind of pick the right one, because otherwise they can reverse it on you. However, if you're just not into it, if you just don't like that at all, either A, it does only affect the very beginning of the match, and that's if you both happen to try to grapple one another. If you run up and try to kick them in the side of the head, and you jump and hit them, then that's not going to pop up. And it's after their health bar gets down just a little bit, it just that will not happen anymore. And but even if you still don't want to deal with it, then you can turn it off.
Right.
But I feel it's part of what wrestling is going back and forth with reversals. And it happens so quick that it just doesn't even bother me. It was kind of weird at first, and yeah, it does suck. You don't, it's just, like I said, paper, rock, scissors. But it's not going to make or break the match. Even if you win every single one in the beginning, it's not like you're going to be doing a copious amount of damage to your opponent, and vice versa. It's just another dynamic that is in real wrestling. As far as the roster, people have been complaining about, oh, there's not as many people as 2K14. Well, you know what? Half the people that aren't in there, nobody cares about. I mean, I'm sure someone does, but really,
somebody complained about it.
Right. But seriously, I don't feel any loss that I can't play as Ricky the Steamboat. It doesn't bother me. I know, like I said, it's going to piss off other people, but the roster in that game is still quite a bit. You still have a ton of people in that game, and the ones that really matter. And some of them, yes, there's some characters I'm shocked that are not in the game. For example, you have a little bit of the legends get up in there, like you do have Stone Cold, you have The Rock, but I'm surprised like they didn't have Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah, I was kind of bummed they didn't have him. And there are still on that map of wrestlers, still tons and tons and tons of slots that are open. So, and also, if you go on, they have the online community thing that you can download other people's creations, and some people are like really, really clever, because I have seen people make all sorts of wrestlers that are not even in the DLC, like Razor Ramon. I've seen him in there, Jeff and Matt Hardy. All these guys that, I mean, you look at them and like immediately, like, oh yeah, that's so and so. And most wrestling moves are pretty generic, but you're not gonna have like their finishers. But oh well. So
well, I think it's kind of stupid because there's always gonna be people complaining about who's in there, who's not in there, and it's like like. I do like a large roster, but it does get to the point where it's like, does it really matter? Are you gonna play as like all these characters? You're only gonna play as like one or two.
Yeah, you gotta pick your select wrestlers that you love. Like for me, whenever I play, I'm usually playing as, and people are probably gonna laugh at this, or I'm gonna get discredited. I've gone through already with Bo Dallas, and I've picked up every single championship belt. And for all my tag teams, I have Santino Marella. So, but and I've been playing a lot with the My Career, which has been pretty fun. And I guess people have been complaining about there's no story. Okay.
Well, it's WWE. I mean, it's never going to really have much of a story. It's just going to focus on, like, prime matches.
Well, yeah, and I feel like to say there's no story in the game at all is kind of cheap, because you do have the My Career mode, which can get tedious because it is a lot of, oh, well, you have you go up through the ranks. Like, you start off in the Performance Center, then you go to NXT. From NXT, you go to Superstars, then the Main Event, then SmackDown, then Raw. And you have, in the beginning, William Regal, who's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, you know, we're going to do this and that. Then it's Vicky Guerrero, which is kind of funny. But, you know, there's some, they go through, like, you play each match is one match out of the month. And the one thing that can get tedious is where a lot of times Vicky will be like, oh, well, I don't have any matches specially set up for you, so you can either do one of two matches. A dark match, which will give you more career points, which you use to boost your stats and whatnot, but then you won't get as many fans. The idea is that you want to build your fan base, and with more fans, you know, excel through the ranks and, you know, go up to like SmackDown, Raw, and all that. Or you can do a tune-up match, which doesn't give you as many the points, but gets you more fans.
Sounds like you just said a tuna match, and I'm just picturing them throwing cans of tuna at one another.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that, for sure. But, you know, and there's a lot of that, and I wish that they did do a little bit more spice in there. Like, oh, there's going to be table, ladders, chairs matches, they're going to have a Hell in a Cell, and there is a chance that maybe later in the career mode they do. I am right now in my, like, 5th or 6th year, and one thing that I have read about, which kind of bothers me a little bit, is you can only get up to 15 years per character. And at 15 years, your character retires. So, like, that kind of sucks. But other than that, you do have the rivalries mode. You know, you have John Cena and CM Punk's rivalry. Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And with the DLC, they are going to be adding more. And mind you, these rivalry storylines are long as poop. I mean, we're talking, you know, there's like 19 chapters for just one of those rivalries. And each chapter might have you do like 2 or 3 fights.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
quite a bit.
Oh yeah. And what's cool is they have, I mean, if you were to see how it plays out, it's pretty cool because they do it, all the movements that are made, you know, in your cutscenes are the exact same things as when it was on TV. I mean, we're talking even down to people in the crowd, like at the taping of those actual events. In the game, those people are wearing the exact same clothes as the people in the crowd were. It's crazy. Does
it have the one black dude that was at WrestleMania?
I don't think that's part of. They don't have anything for Undertaker that I know of. That would be sick. Because they should have him.
Just have him as a wrestler.
Oh, I would. His finishers, he gives you the gawk.
Right.
But I gotta say, you know, for as many bad things as I've read, I don't think people are really giving it much of a chance. They're focusing too much on the stuff that they don't like and not enjoying the game for what it is. I mean, visually, it's beautiful, and I don't know, I've been having a lot of fun with it. So, anyways, so what have you been playing?
I've been kind of playing a mix of different things due to work schedules and everything else. Still playing Freedom Wars, kind of slowed up on it. The difficulty is taking quite a spike, so I'm trying to get used to that. It's not a very forgiving game though. If you lose, then you might lose your partner, and at that point you're given a temporary one, but you have to go and save your other one. but they don't make it easy. It's just like it is so ridiculous how hard it gets. But I slowed down on playing that because of some work situations that was going on. So I started bringing in my 3DS and trying to play Fire Emblem again. And I still don't know what to make of it because it's like I really want to enjoy the game, but when I'm playing it, it's just so complicated to sit there and like really get into it. I'm so used to Disgaea and games like that. And I love Disgaea and I love doing the fights on there. And I understand with Fire Emblem, you're not supposed to really care for the fights. It's not known for its gameplay. It's known for its story. But it's like, if I can't really get into the gameplay, how am I going to get into the story? So, yeah, there's those two. And then console-wise, I tried Batman games. Did not like them. Felt way too clunky. Especially compared to Amazing Spider-Man. I had let Kiki try Amazing Spider-Man, and even he saw how fluent like your character would move around, how fast the gameplay was, whereas Batman was just so slow and ugh, no thank you. So then I had tried I tried Far Cry 4 for PS4, loved it. I'm not too far in it, but it's just like the third one, and I really like the open world exploration and being able to go out. You got your guns, and you never know what's gonna jump out at you. There could be enemies walking around doing like a little surveillance, or you'll be walking around, all of a sudden a stupid bird comes down and starts attacking you, and you're like, "What the hell? Go away!"
Nice.
So that's been pretty fun. Yesterday, I was delighted to see that Tales from Borderlands had actually had episode 1 come out, as well as a demo for Guilty Gear. So I played both of them, and I honestly really loved that Tales from Borderlands game. It was really neat. It's gonna take a little getting used to because I really want to, shoot stuff and everything else, but it's just like...
I'll be honest, too. I had no clue that game was out.
Yeah, nobody had mentioned anything. Like, I looked at this week on PlayStation for releases, and nobody said anything about it coming out this week. So, I go on there, I'm trying to find Guilty Gear, and all of a sudden I'm surprised to see Tales from Borderlands on there. It's like, whoa, hey, where'd this come from? So I definitely really, really loved it, and I could easily foresee myself wanting to replay it and, make the opposite choices of what I'm doing now. Like right now I'm going in there trying to make all the positive choices, but I want to go in there and make all the bad ones.
See what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. Because, you're still going to reach the end, regardless. But I just want to see, how everybody responds.
Oh, definitely. And that's the beauty of those Telltale games. I've thought about replaying the Walking Dead game just to make opposite choices and, the whole time be a douche and see what happens.
Well, I know quite a few people that it's like all they do is they just there and they don't buy many new games. Like they just play stuff like that where instead of being a good guy, they make choices based off being a villainous type of character, or they play the silent protagonist type of role. So, it is kind of cool that you can do all that. I personally wish I could just play 2 or 3 games all year and be perfectly happy, but it's like, I can't.
Yeah. So, you've also been playing Far Cry 4. What's your opinion of that so far?
Well, like I was saying, it plays just like the third one, and it's loads of fun. Kiki was a little hesitant. I remember we were talking, and he had said that he's not into first-person shooters, and I was like, well, yeah, but that's pretty much what everybody has been saying lately is they hate first-person shooters, they hate Call of Duty, but then it's like you look at our board, and it's like you can post up a JRPG and nobody will say anything. You can post up a shooter and everybody's like, "Oh my god, this looks fun." And it's like, yeah, you guys, you have to realize, like, kind of changing. Like, you're playing first-person shooters now. You're playing Destiny. You're playing Borderlands. You're playing all these other games. You're wanting to play Evolve and play Battlefield. Those are all first-person shooters. So I mean, you can hate Call of Duty all you want, but essentially, you do like first-person shooters.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. There was a time where I was the exact same. Like, I was like, screw first-person shooters. Those games are dumb. But I've even reached the point here where I'm like, you know what? I'm just giving. Like, you know what? There are some really good ones out there. I mean, I just have to look at, you know, one of the best game series, you know, of all time. In my, you know, yeah, I'd say within my top 10 favorite series. You know, you have BioShock, and it's like, oh well, that's a first-person shooter. You know, Borderlands is the same. I love those games. First-person shooter. You know, there's. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people might try to say, well, those aren't first-person shooters. Those are games with FPS and RPG elements. And it's like, no, it's still an FPS game. Like, just get over the fact that you're playing an FPS game. That's essentially what it is.
Well, yeah, don't try to spin it around and label it something different. It is still at its core. Because I remember you were trying to get me to play Borderlands, and I remember looking at it and I was like, no, it's a first-person shooter, dude. I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna like it, because it, you know, to someone, you know, who is against that, they're still gonna look at it and be like, no, that's a first-person shooter. I don't want to play it. But then when you finally stop and you give it a chance, I think that's when you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. You're like, you know what? Okay. It is, but just try to look at, you know, it from a different point of view. It's kind of like with the Resident Evil series. I remember being so adamantly against the newer Resident Evil games because I loved the first one so much on PlayStation, and the way that they played, that with the Resident Evils, was it 4, 5, and 6? Because yeah, you had Leon. 4, like that over-the-shoulder camera. I hated that. Hated it.
Oh man, I love it.
But once I played the game a little bit, and especially it was with you, and you know, because it was like, okay, well, he wants to play this, fine, I'll just give it a shot. Then it was like, you know what? You know, this isn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, and I remember picking up Resident Evil 5 and playing it on my own, and I was like, you know what? I actually really like this now.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get Kiki to get into. I was like, you know, like, yeah, you're gonna see and hear a lot of people say like all these opinions about first-person shooters and especially Resident Evil, but it's like, man, what you do is you pick up the game and you look around for people that have the game as well, and then you guys play it. You'll be like completely mind blown how like fun it is. Like, yeah, it's not the greatest game on the face of the planet, but when you're sitting there and you're both yelling at each other because you're both trying to shoot these flagged people and shit like that, then it's fucking loads of fun.
Oh, easily. Well, cool. Well, yeah, it's cool. Like I said, I feel like for our next podcast, I really would like to have everybody who's ever been on here all come on and for us to all do a big like game of the year, a personal game of the year, and you know, kind of and talk about why we feel that way, and I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think my choice would it wouldn't be like game of the year as much as like, you know, what game did I enjoy the most that came out for the year.
Well, no, and you could spin it any way you want, really. It doesn't matter, but I feel like that'd be kind of fun, you know, to see what everybody feels and, you know, all that jazz. So,
all the jazz.
Every bit of it. So, cool. Alright, well, I suppose I'll close this up, and yeah, we'll hopefully get in touch with everybody, and we'll do a nice big podcast soon.
Alright.
Alright, we'll see everybody later.
Later.